Spacestation versus G2. Get up and get loud. It's game day.
Objects in the mirror are much closer than they appear. And that is the story for G2 right now, with Spacestation Gaming nipping at their heels. A win here for SSG Daz ties them with G2 with a chance to earn more points tomorrow.
Spacestation Gaming need to be locked in on this series, Stacks. We know how the SSG, well, what's quoted as the SSG tilt can affect this roster, but we've also seen them be able to battle back. They did it yesterday against NRG, and for this G2 roster, it's a different beast. So for Spacestation Gaming to want to keep themselves in that major conversation, they got to be getting all cylinders flying as this series starts off.
Daniel, no doubt aware of the significance of this series, and I'm sure the G2 squad is as well. They realize that it's getting real tight up at the top and the competition getting tougher than ever, with so many teams trying to make their mark here in the winter and break through in San Diego. As Chicago to take this from the side. JNAP's in the middle. His shot off the crossbar, no follow-up. Atomic is there, a little floater, far down and away. Some interference in the net, still not enough. And SSG tightrope their way out of danger.
Tightrope is right. That was so close. JNAPS was in the net getting bumps on LJ. If that shot comes through for G2, they're up here in this game. They may want that chance back here, but they got to keep going. Spacestation clearing the ball out. They're looking for a chance upfield to set up some opportunities.
I'm sure Chicago will be relieved to see somebody else getting bumped around and get some demolitions as JNAPS takes out LJ. Of the 6 players on the pitch here, Chicago's been targeted the most. He's been demolished more than anybody, as JNAPS will come in from out of nowhere as Daniel couldn't clear this cleanly.
Yeah, you see the misclear, but look at that from JNAPS. Top left, he hits the mark almost every single time he shoots. Such a danger. And he is the one that will give G2 their first goal this game. Phenomenal stuff. If JNAPS gets going, it could prove to be a threat here for Spacestation Gaming. So you don't want him to keep getting so many shot opportunities in the start of this series.
Hard from the corner, read by Atomic as he booms it down, but Daniel's right there. First touch got away. Chicago takes it. And Arsenal trying to maybe to feed Daniel way downfield with the clear. JNAPS intercepts. It'll be on to LJ now. He's the new guy on this SSG squad coming into this season, and took them a while to get him up to speed, but he has been an integral part of everything SSG has been accomplishing. Chicago up against Daniel, and it's saved away by the young prodigy.
Good save out from Daniel. He's got 2 this game. Again, Spacestation Gaming's defense has been there. It's just the fact that they are not necessarily having the best start here. First half of the game's gone by. Only, I believe, 2 shots. Both of them have been from LJ. No one else has really been able to keep possession of field. G2's done a great job of being able to just kind of play around SSG and keep the possession in their favor. They've limited shot opportunities, and they've been able to put on almost 3 times as much offensive pressure as Spacestation Gaming.
LJ brings this to the side and just calling his own number, throwing it at the backboard, hoping somebody can come in and help, because he couldn't follow the play. That's LJ again, intercepting in midfield. Atomic's got to have this, and does. Way out to the corner where there's nobody waiting. Arsenal will bring it central. Chicago's there. Atomic downfield. But look how quickly SSG brings it right back at G2. Not letting them rest at all in the defensive end. Trying to reach back and apply a whole lot of pressure to this G2 squad, and that's what SSG had to do against NRG throughout the entire series yesterday, as Atomic shot sent away by Daniel. 55 shots for SSG compared to just 34 from NRG as part of a reverse sweep effort in the round of 16.
Now they need to see if they can pull off a performance similar here in this game. They're still sitting at only 2 shots here. Meanwhile, on the side of G2, as that one goes in from JNAPS, JNAPS is going to score after the 11th shot. G2 have been lighting it up, and JNAPS has been hitting his mark, shooting 50%.
Certainly helps when he gets the defense out with 1:13 to go. SSG have given up a couple that I'm sure they'd love to have back. LJ trying to catch Atomic on his way through. Atomic does get the demo on Arsenal, and more pressure instead coming from G2. And it hasn't been, you know, long sustained pressure out of G2. It's not like they've kept SSG deadlocked in their own zone, as Atomic will go up for the double, and it's on target, but Arsenal is there. LJ and Chicago take each other out. 45 seconds remaining, and SSG still trying to get their first strike. They do have the shot advantage as G2, 11-2. It just hasn't felt like that. As JNAPS through the air, drops down for Chicago, and now it's pouring in.
And G2 look just in sync. JNAPS again leading the offense here. Beautiful touch straight down to Chicago. Spacestation Gaming's defense not necessarily having a read here, as G2 continuing to just pepper the net shot after shot until the SSG defense breaks down. Great start to game one for G2 though. 30 seconds remaining, up by 3. This one looks to be just all them. But you do bring up a point where about Spacestation Gaming, it hasn't looked as bad, but it is starting to look a lot worse though. Chicago gets that one for free. I don't know how. 4-0.
Yeah, this is getting to be garbage time here, where you're just starting to look ahead to the next game. It is a long series here with best of 7s now in the quarterfinals. And at this point, anything G2 adds is just a little extra dressing. Daniel for LJ, lining up the double, and he's got it to go.
There you go for LJ, finally finding one. Daniel with a great pop-up. LJ, good communication there for Daniel to leave that for LJ. LJ comes through, gets a double down in time. Signs of life here for Spacestation Gaming in the final seconds.
This will be the first game in a while, probably going back to the Complexity series yesterday, where Spacestation has not had the leading shooter in the game. They had somebody either tied or outright leading in most shots in every single game of that NRG series, even the 2 that they lost at the start of that series. This time it's Chicago, double what anybody else from SSG could put towards the net. 6 of the 13 shots from G2, as it was a relentless barrage. It didn't feel like they had SSG locked down though until probably close to the end, when they got a couple quick ones and really put this game out of reach, Daz. But now we go into game 2, and I think with these 2 teams in particular, momentum isn't necessarily a thing, because they've both got excellent coaches that are good at getting them focused on what's ahead.
And that's going to be something that's super important. You know the adjustments coming into Forbidden Temple. Spacestation Gaming is going to be able to try to mix things up here. They understand that, you know, they didn't necessarily show up to game 1. A lot of it was them trying to kind of find their form against G2. But now it's up to them to dictate the pace. 5 minutes on the clock, 0-0. Let's see what SSG bring to the table.
Ideally, Daniel will be a little more sure-handed at the back line, but this time he's nowhere to be found. It's LJ and Arsenal in the net, watching Chicago blast one through. 17 seconds into game 2.
I love this though, because the communication is great. Chicago steals the boost from Arsenal in the corner, calms that, and Atomic immediately sends the ball there towards them. It's great work there for G2. And again, one of the reasons why they start off strong, but there's Daniel off the kickoff. He'll flick one in to equalize us quickly.
And important to get a quick answer. You can see him go after the demo, trying to nudge Daniel away from the play. Following up, not in time. So 5 seconds later, Daniel gets it right back. We reset now. Still less than 30 seconds gone by in our second game. Daniel bringing this to the corner. Chicago being bumped around by Arsenal. Daniel bring it all the way across, but Atomic's right there. Good quick reactions and a full tank of boost from that midfield line, but no play on the ball as it's powered away by LJ.
JNAPS leading the charge, and Atomic, it was a close chance there. Just missing the mark. But again, another pass comes through. LJ big. I mean, the pressure there from G2 is so strong that it's forcing the SSG. They got to respect any even idea of a shot chance. Still though, they are in this game. LJ gets the demo. Arsenal tried to get that double out. Chicago will clear it in space, slowing things down, but Spacestation Gaming has looked a lot better as they've been able to shut down opportunities from G2 while also making them a little uncomfortable on defense.
Arsenal, slow play to get around JNaps, let him go by. Here comes Daniel, met by Atomic, but Chicago has this ball through the corner. As far as LJ, as Daniel jumps right back in, slows down G2. Atomic trying to play around the defense, hit it where they ain't. The problem is, this SSG squad collectively so quick, able to react to just about anything G2 can throw at them. That first game notwithstanding. Daniel got a piece of this one from JNaps, so all Atomic can do is try and dump it back into the zone and let his teammates get reset. So for both these teams, huge major implications with San Diego just around the corner. The Invitational coming in a couple of weeks as Daniel gives SSG its first lead of the series.
I love this. LJ looking for that demo on Atomic. You knew how this play was happening as soon as the ball was in that midfield line. The demo setup, or at least the opportunity to have that front man there, gives full reign for the shot to come through. Daniel now 2 for 2. Every shot SSG have taken has gone in, except for that one off the kickoff.
Imagine that percentage is gonna skyrocket if G2 doesn't change things very quick. Daniel with Arsenal in support behind him. Atomic and Chicago working as a tandem against him. And now Chicago for JNaps. Chicago still in the play. LJ the initial stop. Atomic will bring it back central. LJ's there to feed Daniel. Here comes Spacestation again. Daniel trying to create, and he does. It's a hat trick.
He pushes it through him. You gotta be able, if one isn't enough, get 2 in the air. JNaps and Chicago both try to put a hand up against Daniel, but he forces it into the top right corner. SSG have completely flipped the script. They've limited G2 to 2 shots so far this game, while also allowing Daniel to explode on the offense.
This Space Station team can score in bunches. Not the first time they've done it in this event as LJ makes the save. Arsenal crisscrossing with him. JNaps trying to maybe leave one for Chicago. They did not fool the Space Station defense. They scored 4 unanswered goals between games 3 and 4 against NRG, part of that reverse sweep yesterday. Daniel gonna power one away here. Daniel and Arsenal, huge parts of that comeback too. I think at one point, each of them had 7 shots in a game as Space Station led that great comeback charge. Chicago now trying to drop one down to JNaps, and LJ is in the way. Just when this Space Station team gets going, they seem to be playing on a completely different level, and they kind of have these Jekyll and Hyde spurts as Atomic got in the way of that ball. They didn't let it get central off of Chicago. And Daniel will power this ball away yet again, just barely off the mark, and Atomic can sweep it out to JNaps.
Good touch out, but you can see it where the difficulty is here from G2, as this one's right in front of the net. Atomic will get there and make the save in time. But you can tell, again, Space Station Gaming are setting the tone on how the ball's being moved around the field. Last game, G2 got to dictate that, and it allowed them to just get their pass plays, get the connections through, and score many opportunities. Oh, that was a fake. Did Chicago get him? No! Oh, had a free chance there. But again, off the mark. We'll try again, but look, almost the whole SSG team up to make sure that's not going through. It's just very, very hard for G2 to get clean looks like they had in game 1, and it's the reason why the scoring or the shot chances haven't been as plentiful. As 30 seconds remain, SSG is up by 2, and they're looking to continue to hold that lead.
I did wonder how SSG would fare against a very stingy G2 defense. Only comes in averaging about 6.5-ish shots allowed per game, where SSG had 11 shots per game in their round of 16 series yesterday. This is how SSG is going to fare against that G2 defense. A natural hat trick out of Daniel. This goal means nothing. SSG ties the series.
SSG are going to take that game. JNaps will get 1 for the road. He's still keeping the shooting good. It won't matter at the end of the day, like you said. You see it on the screen. Space Station taking this one. There again, the changes being made, the giving Daniel that space, letting him work, feeding him the ball. I mean, some plays he made himself. You know, you saw the kickoff goal happen, but others carrying the ball. It was a little bit of everything there for Space Station Gaming. All goals assisted too as well. As we take a look back at the replay, and G2 goals like this were only you only saw one of them, and that's simply because things like Daniel being able to carry the ball upfield, the way that Space Station was moving and passing the ball around, just made it so hard for things to get really set there for G2 Esports. We go to game 3 stacks, and it's going to be a big one here.
Yeah, and if you like a lot of teamwork, teams racking up assists, just hang around for the next series with FaZe and PK. FaZe leads the tournament in assists per game. They seem to assist on just about every single goal they score. The teamwork has been exceptional after a disappointing Winter Open. And this Space Station squad now trying to build off of a FaZe-esque performance. As Arsenal can't get to this ball though, Chicago out of the corner. Now it's LJ. Lost possession there. Jane Apps had that bounce off of LJ. Chicago having a tough time corralling this ball. Second touch keeps it available for Atomic. Jane Apps lurking in case there's a misplay, and there have been a few, but not this time as SSG hold them off.
I guess Chicago trying to get that around in the corner. Atomic with some space. It's a good pop-up. Jane Apps is up for this. I think Chicago got a bump as well. It's awkward for SSG. Demo on the play. Chicago with the shot will force it through, and G2 start us off hot.
A very inauspicious start for Space Station defensively. Had the smoke screen in front. Just as that dissipated, Chicago's shot comes through. A complete mess as G2 had him scrambling around. And so, more early goals between these two squads. Atomic circles around. He's going to serve up Jane Apps. Trying to bring this to the backboard, and Daniel in the way. Here comes SSG, trying to counter quickly, but they're not going to be able to jump up. Chicago all over that. So too is Atomic. Got to get a hand up, and Daniel does.
Yeah, you saw that threat. Everyone knows, don't give Atomic that backboard for free. Good on Daniel to be able to reach that in time to slow things down. But G2 definitely playing with a much more faster speed, and they're not afraid to get physical as well. A good shot from J-Naps, but a great save from Daniel. He's already got a hat trick in terms of saves, but it's the quality of the saves that have been fantastic so far this game. At least 2 of the 3 have been really tough ones to make.
Listen, mechanics aren't everything, but when you've got reflexes like that, and when the game seems to just go in slow motion at times for you, it can make a huge difference, and he can bail his team out of some real awkward spots. Tried to set up LJ here. Second touch to serve up Arsenal, but he's too far behind. So he's got to wait for the ball to come out. Now we'll bring it back in with Daniel picking up the midfield boost behind him. Can he stay with this play? No, but Arsenal can. All the way to the weak side. Daniel chasing down Chicago. Could not get him. And this will fall to Jane Apps. They gave G2 a little bit of time. What have they done with it? Not a whole lot. They've given it to Daniel, and that's a cardinal sin.
Look at Daniel, the shining star of Space Station going up. Beautiful flip reset over, and surprising G2, not even Atomic could get there in time. What a way to tie it up. Daniel's having a game so far in game 3.
There's 2 guys that you cannot just give the ball to. One, Atomic, the other, Daniel. And man, oh man, has Daniel cooked in this series. He's at the back right now with LJ trying to pass to Arsenal. This will fall towards Daniel, but J-Naps has it. Serve it up to Atomic. Nobody's got a hand up. LJ will get there, and he'll deny the double tap effort, and G2 are sent back to their own zone. Oh, good ball out of the corner. Here's LJ, off the mark. Daniel coming in. J-Naps had to be up quickly, and he was.
Ooh, Daniel still trying to keep that in play. But here's where G2 can start to get things going. What can Atomic do to open up the defense? He is able to get that flip. A little bit of a threat, but ball goes to LJ, and a strong clear is G2. Trying to get back. Boost! Arsenal left it for LJ, and LJ almost was able to give SSG the lead. Now Daniel in a tough spot. And Chicago tried to see if he could find the angle, but just couldn't. It's been laser back and forth between these two, trading opportunities and trading counterattacks.
Daniel, full tank of boost. Had a whole half of the field to work with. Served it up to LJ. Bank is just off the mark from the ceiling. Another one just over the bar. LJ thought about it. Instead, he'll peel off and let Daniel take charge again. Again with a full tank of boost, but he gets swatted out of the air by Chicago. Arsenal drop off to LJ. JNAP's there to intercept. And Chicago will boom it away towards Atomic. Change the direction, but Daniel did not need to make a save.
Like that pre-flip from Atomic, that was great in terms of just being able to make Daniel a little bit confused in net. Daniel's been a good defender this game, but a shot like that definitely would have been able to mix things up. It was just coming in too fast, and Atomic couldn't get the right angle on that pre-flip. Still working though. A minute remaining in game 3, and no team is satisfied. The opportunities, and honestly, the way that both teams have been carrying the ball upfield, the mechs are showing, Stacks. It's only a matter of time before one of them breaks down.
JNAPs with Daniel running interference underneath them. I think he stole that boost from right in front of Chicago. Arsenal in front. Atomic the initial block. Here goes Daniel again, but this time it got away from him. JNAPs up to Chicago. Everything under the magnifying glass now with 20 seconds separating us from overtime in a tied up series. And again, the race for San Diego heating up with every game and every touch. LJ got a piece of JNAP, spun him out, but Chicago there to help out. 5 seconds remain. Daniel to LJ. Arsenal circling around. He's not going to be in the play. This will drop to ground. We go to overtime.
This game has been so close so far. And it's no shocker that we have this OT in game 3. How will things start to adapt? JNAP's car is not moving.
Yeah, JNAPs is stopped in the middle of the field, and we'll see how that develops with Chicago throwing one up to the backboard. And yes, we will indeed stop. 20 seconds here into overtime, and JNAPs finally getting the break that he was looking for. So as soon as we've got him back in and everybody else ready to go, we will resume this overtime. So the drama only intensifies at this point, Daz. Tied up 1-1 in game 3 in a series. That is 1 game apiece. And we keep talking about the points race for San Diego. And of course, you know, the overall points get you into the Invitational. We've got all of our 16 teams there, but it's the top 5 in the winter points only that qualify you for that winter major in April. And with G2 sitting on, I think it's 20 points right now. SSG right behind them at 16. And what do you get? 4 points for winning this round here. Looks like the players are just about back in. But again, we'll start from a kickoff with an inconsequential amount of time elapsed here. In overtime, it will be golden goal to break this 1-1 tie.
Yeah, this does kind of reset the momentum here a little bit, but that being said, we are already going instant overtime anyways. So we'll see how teams kind of change things up off the kickoff here. But you got to think, especially toward the later half of that game, a lot of pressure coming in from Spacestation Gaming. There were a couple of chances there for LJ to get on the scoring department. They had decent pressure on G2, but G2 was also doing really solid in the counterattacks. We'll see how things go. Everyone back in lobby. Kickoff, overtime in game 3. Who's gonna get the lead in this series?
Well, Daniel giving a lot of space again, but JNAP's got this as it came to ground. Because you're always kind of at the edge of your seat with kickoffs these days, especially in overtime. See so many overtime kickoff goals, just teams kind of losing the plot in OT. That goes off the crossbar, and Daniel just ahead of JNAP. It almost ended right there. Chicago serve one up. LJ and Daniel both up there. And it's LJ that comes away with this ball. Atomic making sure he didn't get the midfield boost, but then LJ takes down Chicago, and that will hinder G2 enough.
Yeah, Atomic just trying to take his time, buying Chicago some time to get back into it. Boost spawns perfectly for Chicago, but still gives the ball to Spacestation Gaming. Now they're looking for a chance here on the counter. But they give it straight to Atomic, and Atomic tries to clear it out. Lots of just boom clears where the ball's being sent into midfield. And teams have been good at meeting them. Again, not being able to give space. Flip reset from Daniel. LJ will get the lightest touch I've ever seen, and that's all he'll need to take this OT.
Well, Daniel's just involved in everything, isn't he? Serve it up. LJ just got a piece. It slips through SSG. 2 in a row as they break the 1-all tie halfway to the semis.
I like what I saw in terms of the kind of playing for each other with Spacestation in that game. I mean, there was chances where Arsenal would try to throw a pass to LJ. LJ would leave it for Arsenal in the air. We even saw like glimpses of that in game 1, but they're really starting to kind of lean into that a little bit more. And it is throwing off G2. Now to say that though, this could have went either way is almost an understatement, because G2 had strong opportunities. You even saw some of the bump plays that they were getting where they set up chances in net, but funny enough, the shots aren't hitting their mark for G2. And it may be a big factor in terms of how this series is going to go. If they can find the back of the net stacks, SSG, I mean, they'll take these small chances that they can get and they'll score them and they'll just keep running it up until the series is over. G2 have to get back into that offensive pressure that we saw from game 1 and really start finding the mark.
Drawn right up to the backboard immediately by G2 as we start game number 4. Again, this long best of 7. Both teams neck and neck every step of the way except for game 1. SSG has bounced back brilliantly. LJ over to Daniel. Leave it for LJ. Arsenal still back, and he'll need to be with Chicago trying to run interference. Arsenal dished that right off to Daniel, and it's a good defensive effort out of SSG early here against a G2 team that has been able to run it up quite a bit. They come in averaging over 10 shots a game, and they're certainly going to score plenty of those opportunities, like this one from JNaps, just under the bar.
When you need to hit the mark, give the ball to that man. Atomic gives it to Naps. Naps with a hater just under the crossbar. Wow.
Just right on cue. You talk about G2 getting a ton of shots. Boom. Laser from JNaps. 85 into the net. As LJ will try and drop down on one. He couldn't stay with this. Daniel for Arsenal, trying to keep it available. But here comes G2 again. Had a slight numbers advantage if they wanted it. Instead, being a little more patient, making sure they pick up the boost they need. Here comes Chicago around, and Daniel with JNap trying to bump him out of the way. And then the ball just happens to find him on its way back to the net a second time. And somehow SSG keep G2 on only 1 goal.
I don't know how many saves SSG
Arsenal and LJ ran into each other.
And that's what I was going to say. I don't know how many times this has happened where it's just, it looks like a lot of confusion in the SSG net, but then they turn it around and they get out. They almost were able to score on that play upfield. Daniel tried to carry it through, but defense from G2 was there. You said it towards the end of, I believe, game 1, where SSG, it felt like they were kind of hanging on by a thread. And you can still see glimpses of that. G2, though, they are cutting that thread as JNaps will get a second.
There are times that it looks like SSG does not actually have voice comms going defensively. And a lot of that can be attributed to the way G2 can kind of create mass confusion on their half of the field. But then you see them just bump into each other when there's no pressure, and you're like, what's going on here? And then you have moments of brilliance when you see Daniel make 3 or 4 critical saves, and you go, well, this is like the best and worst defensive team we've ever seen.
It feels that way sometimes. And it really does come down to, I think once the communication breakdown starts to happen, you can kind of see that continue throughout the course of the game, at least. It really just all depends on what's going on in the game. That was almost a great chance. Chicago did have an open look at the net there, but missed the shot. And there was a dibble on the play too. But G2 not able to capitalize. That being said, they are in control of this game right now. A 2-goal lead as we approach that 2-minute mark. SSG is going to be the team that has to find a way through.
Chicago's got 4 goals in this series. Think of how many more he could have if some of those open net shots that he's had, tough as they have been, they've certainly not been routine shots for most players. Maybe he would consider them average shots that he should make. But for the guy that T-Bates calls Reed Curry, he hasn't been 100%. Atomic circling around here. He has yet to score, but he's got 5 assists on the 9 goals that G2 has scored here. As Atomic right at LJ. Arsenal out of the corner. Daniel waiting at midfield for this clearance from JNaps. Oh, Chicago took him out. How did this get through?
Oh, he didn't
it's
have
still
boost.
available. JNaps does not have it central, but SSG are in a lot of trouble defensively right now.
That double commit, I mean, we've seen that again, time and time here for Spacestation, multiple times this game. They don't get punished for it, but also it makes it so hard for you to move upfield when there's no one able to follow up because 2 guys went for the same defensive clearance. Infield pass to LJ, just a little slow there, and Chicago got the beat out. Now JNaps upfield still in boost while Atomic is trying to lead the charge. JNaps again able to turn on this, keeping this in play, and Spacestation have to keep their head on a swivel because G2 is running around. Maybe a chance for Daniel, and he finds one, bringing Spacestation back into the game.
Keep your eyes downfield and watch LJ. Bang! Atomic out of the play. And Daniel pumps that through to an open net with 52 seconds remaining. And think about a couple of opportunities that G2 have had to extend this lead. Haven't been able to cash in. SSG hanging around. Can Spacestation bring it all the way back? They got the right man on the job, but JNaps is there.
Start keep an eye on Daniel in these final seconds, but also keep an eye on JNaps as well. They've been stone cold in the way that they have been lethal on that offense. LJ trying to lead the charge here. Touch out for Daniel. Arsenal has to keep this ball in play. SSG don't have too many chances here. 20 seconds left in regulation.
Daniel, 5 goals, 2 assists. SSG has scored 7 goals in this series. You do the math. That's 100% goal participation, but they need him involved in another. He is bringing it to the corner. LJ with a bump on JNaps, but Chicago brings it around away from Arsenal. And Daniel doing all he can to keep it in the air, and that's just allowed to drop by the G2 defense. Clever play at the end as G2 hangs on.
And the series back tied up here as well. Series tied 2-2. And, you know, one thing I have noticed is no timeouts. No timeouts so far from either side of this one here, which could be something. I mean, we've had that conversation last week in Europe. This time between these two, they're still deciding to play this on as every team. I mean, you talk about momentum coming in. The momentum has been a big factor, yes, in some of these matches, but also I think for these guys, they all know their game plan. You even said it yourself, Stacks. They have really solid coaches behind them who have a good read on how the game is played and maybe just don't want to disrupt their own team's pacing here. It's going to be a big game coming up here. Game 5 in Wasteland between G2 and Spacestation Gaming. And can you really tell who has the edge here? Because it's been close.
No, I don't think anybody has any kind of an edge. I mean, we've talked about the coaches quite a bit. Chrome with Spacestation, Sathu with G2. You saw him for a moment there in between games. The vibes just seem immaculate with this G2 team. They never seem to get too far down on themselves. We heard them talking a little bit in interviews that we put together yesterday where, look, they can be brutally honest with each other and they can be professionals about this, and you kind of have to be. I think Gen G has kind of established that here in North America, that it's not all sunshine and roses as Arsenal makes an initial save. Daniel coming in as well, falling into his own net, keeping G2 at bay. And yet again, G2 frustrated by goal line defense out of Spacestation Gaming.
That goal line defense has been super key in making sure some of these games do not get out of control. Daniel going up. Does he have the double? Double down. LJ follow-up blocked out by JNaps. What a stop from G2. It felt like Spacestation was so fast, it was almost a guaranteed goal, but G2 put a wall up and said, not today.
Daniel trying to double this back to Arsenal. Atomic and JNaps almost falling over each other as everything's just kind of jammed up in the corner. This is just what we call ugly Rocket League. And G2 is going to come away with possession. Chicago trying to screen off LJ. Arsenal's got it on the backboard. Drop it down to Daniel, and here he goes. Let him cook. Up to the ceiling. Up against JNaps, and Chicago. It's JNaps that comes away from the backboard.
Yeah, Daniel's so efficient. But Atomic flick over one. Daniel, look at that, picks this up, has a play here, plays it low, didn't get the flip. Would have been almost a goal scoring opportunity for Daniel if he was able to get that flip reset, but so hard to do when he's trying to play fast, being able to cut the ball away. I mean, he read that flick from Atomic so well, but not able to do too much with it.
It's Atomic now, lobbing another towards Chicago, who's got that around Arsenal. But Daniel will collect here. Strong touch out to midfield. LJ's there, so too is Daniel now, but he couldn't get on top of that for a double. Here goes Arsenal, though, all day to play this ball. JNAP's there to meet him. Chicago will finish off the defensive effort, only as far as Daniel. He'll bring it back in. Atomic is in the air, and that at least altered Daniel's shot well enough that Chicago could clear, and G2 can rest for a moment as they start to send this away.
That's twice now, too. Daniel's been going up for these. Again, once he gets that flip, it could be a completely different story, but it just hasn't been able to find that. And now, still a stalemate, but Space Station have had a decent amount of pressure. I said as a Chicago will put a shot on. It's G2's third compared to Space Station Gaming's seventh.
Well, this will take a high bounce that Atomic's got all the way. LJ waiting for him to give it back to him. Now Daniel. This will angle downward. Arsenal's got the read to stuff Chicago, but it's Atomic way downfield. We're seeing a lot of this, just big, powerful clears, a little bit of dump and chase strategy from G2 and Space Station. This one's got away, and Arsenal's got to scramble back. Chicago's there, and somebody's got to take the shot. Finally, it's Chicago, the floater, and it does not go. It hit everything except the net. JNAPS will try. Chicago's there, and he hit the post again, but JNAPS will clean it up.
JNAP's having to help out Chicago there. It's a beautiful pass. Chicago had a chance for the shot, goes off the post. JNAP still in the air, not giving up on that play. And G2 finally find the back of the net.
Minute 30 to go to break this 2-all tie in a best of 7. LJ around Arsenal as that's popped up. And Chicago just dumping this back in, burning a little more time, making this task just a little bit more difficult for Space Station Gaming. Try and equal game 5. LJ shot, blocked at point blank by Chicago. Atomic one-on-one with Daniel, and Daniel just a little bit quicker.
Yeah, Daniel had to be quick, though, low on boost on that play, able to get that pop-up by him and his team some time to rotate back as Atomic trying to put another shot in, looking to close out this game 5. But it's still a one-goal game. Still opportunities. They gotta stop that man JNAPS. Daniel was up super quick, but he needs help, and SSG need to get upfield quickly.
Well, Daniel chasing Atomic all the way to the back wall. He can breathe a sigh of relief as Daniel had to peel off. Here comes the ball. It's JNAPS. Just dish that off to the corner. More time wasted as G2 try to pin down SSG. JNAPS again deep into the corner. You can tell SSG getting a little antsy. They want to get out of the zone. They just can't get a pass together. Chicago through LJ. JNAP's finally taken out. Here goes Daniel. Just launch one downfield. And Arsenal still way, way back, and he has to be to reset the play. Down to 10 seconds. LJ doesn't have anybody to pass to. They are just completely disjointed as G2 have shut down Space Station Gaming in the final stages of Game 5. Arsenal can finally get away. Is it enough? No! Atomic with the save at the end, and G2 on match point.
G2 started that game off not necessarily in the best of places. Space Station Gaming came in with, again, shot after shot. They were shooting them 7-3. And then all of a sudden, something just switched and G2 started connecting. Again, getting those plays upfield, starting to look for each other. JNAV's got a couple of demos, shook things up. And there's the timeout for SSG coming in now because, like you said, towards the end of that game stacks, they looked disjointed. They couldn't find each other for passes out of the field. It was one person there. You would think a play would be, starting to build, but no one would be able to get a follow-up. So, the third was just too far back sometimes, and that let a lot of pressure go that they probably could have gotten and used in order to build more scoring chances.
Games 2, 3, and even 4, I think you could say, even though SSG dropped that game, we saw Dr. Jekyll at work, right? It was very very methodical. It was a great defensive effort out of Spacestation Gaming. Games 1 and 5 here. We've seen Mr. Hyde. It has just been all chaos and not a lot of cohesion defensively. Now we go into game number 6. Neo Tokyo will be the backdrop for match point for G2. JNAPS trying to get to another semifinal here in North America. And just how about the career he's had? He's had an excellent series as well. 6 goals, 2 assists to lead G2 to this point. Coming up on 6 years with G2 in just a few days' time. That is, I mean, when you think about how often people change, I mean, you got guys like Garrett, who's been with NRG forever, but yeah, February 22nd, 2017, JNAPS and Rizzo joined Kronovi with G2.
He's still doing it. Still efficient. Still a great player. And it's amazing to see how far he's been able to go. I mean, you just talk about it last season. World Championship Grand Finals.
Yep.
Like, he's him. Okay?
He is.
We'll see.
And probably would have been the MVP if they did pull it off.
Yeah.
In Fort Worth. And unfortunately, well, what happened, and BDS reigned supreme. They seem like a far, far cry away from that now. And it's so tough now to even get to a world final. Much tougher than it's ever been before. And Chicago getting things started for G2. The timeout for Space Station didn't seem to help a whole lot.
I mean, that's a great start. You can even see it on the cam. Chicago, he loved the fact that that one went in. Finally, hitting his shots. And
somebody got to tell Chicago, we're talking about JNAPS. You got to serve him up. Let him score a few. Maybe let Atomic score 1. He's still sitting on, what is it, 5, 6 assists? I think it's 5 assists now. Still yet to score in this series. Hasn't needed to with G2 doing this work. Trying to set up another. Of course, that was when he was with Team Envy. That was what Atomic is known for. It was Atomic for his elite level passing. It was Mist for his defense. And it was Turbo for having championships and clutch goals in situations nobody actually expected him to score, but he did. He was like the RLCS Bernie for all you CRL fans out there.
That's a reference not many people will get.
No, definitely not. Just trust us on this one.
Daniel with the flick and Daniel with the goal. We've seen him do this so many different times. Great awareness here and great individual effort.
Daniel just keeps going. He's still at 100% as he's got his 6th goal of this series to go with a pair of assists. 3:49 remain in the tournament life of SSG if they allow G2 to take this game. Arsenal bumping Chicago out of the way. What a pick by Daniel. He read his soul and adds another to the tally.
Cookies, give me that. That's exactly what he said. Atomic, who you passing to? Daniel cuts it out, puts it in. Great read. Again, Daniel's awareness has been very solid over the course of this series. Of course, there have been some mistakes there defensively, like everyone on SSG. But just when he's on, oh man, he's a threat all over the field, and he's showing G2 that right now.
Oh, LJ way up ahead. Arsenal is waiting. That's going to waterfall down towards him. But Arsenal will not have a look at his first goal of the series. There's Atomic. He will score his first, and he ties up game 6.
Free lane here for Atomic. Daniel, we talked about the awareness here, but he's expecting a touch there. Chicago and Arsenal both missed, creating just a momentary lapse. And it's just enough for Atomic to bring G2 back into this one. Tied up 4 goals in the first couple of minutes here. And we may have a shootout on Neo Tokyo ahead of us.
These are 2 teams that have been very good defensively in this tournament. They have given up a boatload of goals to each other. LJ gonna at least peel off to the corner. Had an opportunity to steal some boost from G2. Instead, goes way, way back to his own end. And Daniel couldn't keep JNaps from this ball. Now it's LJ out to the wing where Arsenal is there. But Chicago and JNaps will bring this all the way back to Atomic. And things slowing down just a little bit now between G2 and Spacestation. The enormity of the situation certainly not lost on either of these squads. Oh, so close to each other in the race to San Diego.
Oh, another double commit though. Daniel and LJ, and they got punished for it. Chicago to the top left.
There's a little bit of my turn defense. Problem is, it wasn't their turn. Chicago, slot one, top left after the double commit between LJ and Daniel. And for all the brilliance offensively that we've seen from Space Station Gaming, that ugly, ugly defense rears its ugly head again. Here goes Daniel, he'll try again. Atomic way up there, and he'll power this through LJ at the back line, so now Arsenal has to deal with it. And Space Station Gaming find themselves looking up at G2 in the lead again with LJ avoiding JNaps and clearing the way.
LJ tried to get that over Chicago. Arsenal up quick. It's a high ball, but Daniel not there in time, just a little slow. Can SSG match G2's output this game? They're gonna need to, and they're gonna need to get things under control here in defense if they want to force game 7. The shots have been solid. We've been looking at great Rocket League, especially in this particular game. But is this where Space Station's limits are? We got a minute 40 to find out.
JNaps to the backboard, double tap denied by Arsenal, follow-up from Chicago, saved by LJ, and that keeps SSG around here with 90 seconds left. Now it's JNaps with Atomic rotating out. Chicago waiting across the way, he'll dive into the corner now, and it's LJ who lost this. Atomic floated up there, Arsenal to meet him. Daniel made the stop as he's done so often. And now Arsenal to power it downfield. Chicago is there. And look at all the boost he's burning to keep this ball away from SSG. And again, they find a seam to go right back deep into the corner.
Yeah, SSG on that play, it felt like they just couldn't get upfield or do anything, like get a foothold. G2 was perfectly set. And when they have that time, they're going to be able to clear it out. Now what can SSG do here? Ball in the blue half. Arsenal's trying to slow things down. Daniel's going all the way back, so Tommy's gonna get space. Arsenal's still getting these cuts though, and Chicago in a tough spot, but gets that stop on the goal line.
And Chicago made that a little more interesting than it had to be. Physical play coming through on both ends. There are demolitions all over the place. Finally, JNaps has spawned in, just in time to make the save. Here's LJ, and he made another save. JNaps standing on his head with a little help from Atomic.
Oh, they're not done. Arsenal gets called off by Daniel. Arsenal on that wall, 10 seconds left. SSG trying to make the play. LJ gets the shot, and it's good! Space Station tie it up. We're still playing on.
This beast refuses to die. It's the first goal Daniel hasn't had a direct part in. It's LJ with 7 seconds left.
You can see a little bit of adjustments there from G2. Obviously a bit disappointed. But they got to keep going here. Game tied up. They can still end this series on Neo Tokyo. But that ball is, wait, it's still in the air.
Oh.
It's still going towards the net. That'll hit the ground. We got overtime.
Second OT in this series. Chicago threatening, but the shot's going to be well wide. And no direct follow-up. Here comes Atomic. It's on, and Daniel with the save. Demo from Atomic taking out LJ, the hero, with 7 seconds left in regulation. Arsenal now to LJ again. Daniel's there, and so is Chicago.
Good cutout from Chicago. And Arsenal wanted to get there quickly. Here's some room here for JNaps. Looking middle. Atomic didn't go for it, though. Instead, tried to play the wall. No team can afford to slow down here. As soon as you give another team too much space, they're going to take solid advantage of it. We've seen what these players can do when they have just enough time to think about what they're trying to figure out. LJ with the double to Arsenal. No, it's not in. LJ will get the follow-up. Space Station are going to Champions Field.
LJ and Arsenal combined with 7 seconds left in regulation, and 55 seconds later, do it in overtime. SSG survive to live another game.
This series is not done yet. And we had the question, how much can Space Station give? And they gave their all that game. G2 looked to be closing the door. Atomic and Chicago were lighting up the scoreboard. They were connecting. And Space Station, it looked where, you know, you would see, a lot of people would have expected them to fall down, Stacks. But it came down to the final seconds. They built the offense. They kept it consistent. And they made it to game 7. The question is, who's going to end this series?
We are about to head to Champions Field for the first time in North America since the Fall Cup. Several months ago, led in large part by that man, Daniel, has got things going for SSG, but it was Arsenal and LJ that picked up the slack near the end. The end of that game, Daz, it looked a lot like the end of Game 5, where everything was very disjointed and they were all kind of scrambling and in desperation mode, but they finally found a way, and SSG have prolonged their life here in the Winter Cup.
Can they keep going? They're starting things off right now with some decent offense here. LJ playing the ball really well. Oh, Chicago with a miss, and LJ could not capitalize on it. G2 keep this game scoreless off of what I would say is very fortunate miss from LJ. But they have not been able to kind of get things going in the opening minute. This is going to be their first play upfield. J-Now's taking it low, but Dean with the clear. LJ's downfield, and no! Atomic, amazing save on the goal line!
Oh my gosh, what a save out of Atomic! And fireworks early on Champions Field, but no score. Daniel will try again, trying to get a piece of Chicago. Dropped it back for Arsenal. Stuffed by Atomic. He's in the air. LJ isn't, and Atomic scores.
If he needs to step up, he will. Beautiful read on the play. Notice he caught LJ out, wasted no time getting into the air, and put it right under the crossbar. Atomic able to drop one in for G2 when they need it most.
J-Naps, that kissed the ceiling. And Daniel trying to chase this with Arsenal right behind him. LJ waiting in the center, but Atomic has this ball away, and the second touch to dump that deep into the corner. So G2 scores first yet again. They've scored first in all 7 games. Here goes Arsenal for Daniel. Off the backboard, LJ needs a second touch to direct his central, does not have it. And J-Naps will bounce that out for Atomic to chase down. He's got Chicago to his right, and that was clever out of G2, but it did not get anywhere.
Yeah, that play from LJ needed to be an on-target shot there. I see what he was trying to do, looking for a clean double, but the execution, he was coming in just a little too fast. So that play will go the other way. Still plenty of time, and you know that even though G2 scored this first goal, Space Station have been able to match their offensive output. They have to make sure to keep themselves locked in, at least for the second half of this game. Demo's on the play to try to shake things up for G2, but SSG still can't get downfield.
Oh, Arsenal recognized that Atomic was maybe threatening to pinch that across, and he peeled off that ball at just the right time. But here comes J-Naps, met by LJ in the air. Atomic ahead of Arsenal, lining up the double, and he dropped it right down on Daniel, who made the save.
Atomic getting these double taps is not something you want to see if you're an SSG fan, but if you're on the side of G2, this is exactly what you want from him. Being able, he's been setting up, he's been the assist man in this series, but again, if G2 need a score and no one else is getting on that board, Atomic will more than happily do so. It's been close though. Scoring has stopped ever since that first goal from Atomic. Teams have cleaned things up, but SSG are racing against the clock here.
Atomic adding his first goal of the series. That previous game on Neo Tokyo. J-Nap shot here, saved by Arsenal, the only player on this field who has not scored in this series. Chicago for LJ.
Oh, he got him!
Try and save it. Arsenal couldn't keep it out either. Chicago gets a second for G2.
got the light touch. It was just what he needed. Arsenal thought LJ had to clear out, moved up a little bit, and that was the mistake there. Once LJ missed, Arsenal got caught out. Goal for G2. Great play for Chicago as G2 are not trying to give this series away.
Daniel off the demo by LJ. Here comes SSG again.
Man, you can see the frustrations. Chicago's the one demoed there. Just very irritated on that fact that that goes in. And SSG.
Yesterday all over again.
You're right. A minute 21. Can SSG tie things up? We've asked him this question the entire series. But it comes down to this. G2 have really had a hold here in this game, and you thought that they were going to run away with it. Can they hang on?
Well, LJ going to leave this for Daniel. He is in JNAP's way. Now Atomic over the defense. He got swatted out, and Daniel will get the clearance. And he just got a hand up in front of JNAP's as well. LJ to pop this out from Chicago. Daniel trying to thread the needle, and he almost did. Arsenal to follow. Over to LJ. Tie game.
The team play from SSG keeps going. They keep clawing their way back. Infield pass. LJ slots it home. And it's coming down to the final seconds. G2 have started off strong every single game, but they haven't been consistent in keeping that pace up. And now they got to fight for their life in this tournament.
A selfish player takes a bad shot, and they never get a good look. Arsenal, true pro that he is, made the extra pass. And he's just about set one up for LJ. It's Daniel that takes over, and Chicago brings that out to the corner. G2 have come oh so close on multiple occasions to pulling away in this series and putting it away. But SSG continue to battle. Bank not open here as Arsenal making 2 saves, stuffing Atomic at point-blank range. And Daniel has LJ to his right, opts to go left. No time on the clock. Overtime looming if SSG can bring it to ground, unless they want to get a little greedy. Maybe they want to find out. LJ couldn't line it up.
So close. LJ could have ended the series there, but like you said, couldn't line it up. We have OT in Game 7. What a way to start the day here on Saturday.
After an historic day yesterday with so many reverse sweeps, more drama on Champions Field to kick off day 2. Atomic quickly downfield. Nobody else with him. He's got JNAP's lurking behind now. Who's going to get that corner boost? It's JNAP, so Arsenal's going to be in a tough spot. Daniel spawns in on ball side. So again, there's not a lot of boost on that part of the field at all. Daniel just trying to pick up pennies at this point, and he's just done enough to stop Atomic.
Oh, Chicago's
that is real awkward. And no, LJ just waited there. I think he thought maybe Chicago had a better look at that than he did.
And Chicago definitely was in trouble on that touch, but able to recover. He's getting bumped now by Arsenal. And SSG still with this ball out in the front. Chicago finally able to clear things away, but definitely a dangerous look there in the first minute of OT. Spacestation just got to keep booming this ball back into the G2 end as they try to get consistent offensive pressure going.
Again, G2 has scored first in all 7 of these games, and it could be all for naught as Spacestation Gaming try to tie them in the standings and make it that much tougher for teams like M80 and the like behind them to get into that top 5 for the spots in San Diego. What a lot of this comes down to is LJ got in JNAP's way, and Daniel can just throw this out to the mid. Arsenal's there, back off the ceiling, one more touch needed, and it's central, but JNAP has it all the way. Oh, cross pass intercepted by LJ.
They've been good at reading these passes. We saw Dio do that in Game 6. This time it's LJ. They understand G2 are going to look for each other upfield, and I think that's where you kind of see a little bit of the patience from SSG come in, where they're not too aggressive because they understand that, okay, this G2 team plays for each other. We just need to read that, and we just need to be faster than them.
Arsenal soft off the side, and Daniel is there to meet JNAP. Chicago in an awkward spot. Just lob it downfield. Everybody's going to reset for G2. So here comes another SSG attack. That's quickly out from Atomic. Quick trigger over to JNaps, and Daniel with the initial stop. Chicago, that's very dangerous. Over to JNaps now. The extra pass and the shot ringing off the crossbar.
JNaps misses that one, tries to keep it in. Chicago, no! Can't get it around LJ. This pressure from G2 is scary. But SSG, hold on, show no fear in the net. Oh, they're caught out a little bit, though. That's off the back wall. Daniel with a misread. Arsenal will clear it up. We saw a hit there of a possible breakdown in defense for Spacestation Gaming, but they're able to reset for the time being. They still haven't gotten the ball out, though, and G2 are perfectly okay with keeping it in that orange half.
JNaps all day to play this with full boost and the ball and full team support everywhere, but the shot still deflected by Daniel, who picks up another savior medal. He's got 6 of his team's 11 saves. Chicago's got a medal as well, as LJ will bring this to ground in the corner, and Arsenal now with options left, right, and center. He'll call his own number, and Chicago's there waiting for him.
That's good, though. LJ gets there first. And LJ, again, another big dunk, but no aggressive follow-up here for SSG. G2, it seemed like they had, everything lined up. But here's Daniel and the rest of Space Station trying to turn things around in their favor. Another double. That one almost on target. Arsenal tried to get there, but I think it was Chicago who got that save out. G2 looking for a counterattack. It's starting not to get as easy as it was in the first minutes here of overtime as Space Station Gaming, like I said, they looked awkward, but now they're starting to really find their form.
Remember the blue series from Arsenal. That's dangerous off the crossbar, and Atomic will score in overtime for G2 as they survive a massive challenge out of Space Station Gaming.
Oh, man, it's right off of Daniel's car, and G2 takes full advantage of it.